Mm. Yep. So Eagles go down to Tampa. I think the final was 33-16. I kind of checked out late in the game. That was a mess. That was just. I really, there was blame to go all around, whether it's the players, the coaches, the training staff not having the players ready to play in that heat. You knew it was going to be hot. I mean, you knew what the weather was going to be like, and yet they were ill prepared. Tampa, and I get it, they play in it, but their players weren't dropping out like crazy to get IVs, and the Eagles were because and cramping up and whatnot because they weren't prepared for it enough, or they weren't conditioned enough in the off season. See, it's the little details. That's one of the things that bothers me about this team and about this coaching staff, and it starts at the top. And I know I sound like a broken record, and I apologize in advance. This is why I said last year after the season that I wanted Sirianni out of here. And I said because there were two reasons. A, because he lost the team during the season. B, because there were better coaches out there that you could have gotten. Now, I don't know what this season would have been with a brand new coach. It may have been about a 500 season, but at least, I would have been able to see vision. I would have been able to see something going forward. Whereas now I'm seeing the same as I saw, late last season. When they win a game, it's close. When they lose a game, outside the Atlanta, it's like this. And they're just, the compete levels just aren't there. They're not tackling. Football is a simple game. I know some teams make it look easier than it really is. You got to block on offense and you got to tackle on defense. And if you're not doing both of those things, you're going to lose every time. And yesterday, I saw just non-competing. You're down 24-0. And inside 7 minutes of the second quarter, you've been outgained 254-0. And I know A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith aren't in there. Guess what? Teams deal with injuries. Tampa dealt with injuries yesterday. They didn't have one of their best defensive players on the field yesterday in Winfield Jr. I know they got Vita Vea back, and he made an impact, didn't he, with a sack, right? Made some plays. But they were without guys on their offensive line. They were without other guys, and they didn't skip a beat because they were prepared. They got embarrassed the week before against Denver at home, and they didn't want that to happen again. And if you're the Eagles, again, this is the small details that our head coach just doesn't seem to understand week to week. You have to be prepared for this kind of thing, right? Their quarterback gets sacked 7 times the week before, Baker Mayfield, right? So what are they going to do? They're going to come out. They're not going to allow him. They're going to try to not allow him to get sacked as many times. So what do? What does the smart coach like a Todd Bowles does, who won a Super Bowl as a coordinator, right? What does he do? He makes sure his team makes adjustments. Now he's a defensive-minded coach, but he made sure that offensive game plan was in there to better protect his quarterback so that he doesn't get sacked 7 times again. With the quick hitters. So as a defense, you got to adjust to that. You got to go into that game understanding that this is what they can do. So instead of playing your stupid, we're gonna have our corners way back 10 yards, 15 yards from these receivers, we're gonna get up front, we're gonna jam them. So those quick hitters might not work as well. Or if they're getting beat by it during the game, maybe you should make an adjustment during the game. So that play that's worked all game long for the Buccaneers is a better chance of it not working. You can make adjustments during the game. And that goes to Sirianni, that goes to Kellen Moore, that goes to Vic Fangio. You can make adjustments during games. But this coaching staff doesn't do it. And again, it starts at the head. It starts with Nick Sirianni not making sure that they have the right game plans week to week to have best success. You played this team twice last season. And it's still a surprise that Tampa blitzes as much as they do. You don't have A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith, and you're still trying to run the same plays as if they're on the field. How did you beat Tampa last season? The one time that this team has beaten Tampa under Todd Bowles, how did they do it? They ran the ball. They tired out that defense. They ended the game on an 8-minute drive last season in the regular season in week 3. How do you stop a blitz? You run at them. You have a quarterback who turns the ball over week to week. Well, maybe if you have a few more handoffs, that's not going to happen. You're going to limit the chances of this happening. Or maybe if you design an offense that week when you know you're going up against a blitzing defense, you run an offense similar to what Tampa was running. Quick hitters, not long developing route plays. You know Lane Johnson is not going to be in the game, so one of Jalen's best protectors isn't going to be in there, and you're just, we're going to go back, we're going to do this long developing play route when you don't have the receivers who are capable of running the type of routes and making the type of catches that A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith can make. But we're going to run the same offense, and we're going to forget about running the ball. And it doesn't all fall on Nick Sirianni, but it's under his watch that this is happening. Yes, the players got to make plays, and they're not without fault in this game. Absolutely not. They made enough mistakes, and we're going to get into that. It's coming. Oh, just let me cook. Just let me cook, because this is the type of game that I really wanted to avoid this season. And I'm not saying it's a guarantee if we had Hoodie here as our head coach, because there were games like that with the Patriots, But there was more chances of this happening with Sirianni as the head coach. Because the man is Will Ferrell from Saturday Night Live as the male cheerleader. That's what he is, in my opinion. That's what he is. Instead of a head coach. And yeah, we threw the flowers at him in 2022. It was a perfect season. Everything went well. You can't expect that every year. And when there's times where you need to make adjustments and you need to make changes and you need your coaches and your coaching staff to make changes, you better damn well do it. Because if you don't, it's 33-16. What did they say during the game? They compared Saquon Barkley to Barry Sanders. Now, is that fair or not? I don't know. But what I do know is that Saquon Barkley, like Barry Sanders, was a home run hitter. Yeah, maybe you stop him here and there for a yard or so, but what's he going to do? What did he do in the first play of the third quarter? He busts one. What did he do in New Orleans? He busted one for a score. That gave them their first points of that game. You have that weapon, and you don't want to use him enough because you don't want him to get hurt. Nope, we can't do that. We got to keep him bubble wrap. Nope, don't use him to it. He's on a pitch count. You got to be kidding me. In a game where it's 100 degrees out, and you can tire that defense out. A blitzing defense eventually is going to get tired in that type of weather. And if you keep pounding the ball, and this offensive line, even without Lane Johnson, they're so good at run blocking. So good at run blocking when they're not making penalties. Holding penalties or down the field penalties or what have you, right? They're so good at it. And you don't want to go to the strength of your offensive line. That's the strength of your offense with Saquon Barkley. And instead, we're going to have Jalen go back, wait for the long developing routes against a blitzing defense. You got to be kidding me. 3 and out to start the game. 3 and out again. 3 and out again. Because you're not using your strength. You're the head coach, and you don't understand what the strength of your offense is. You got to be kidding me. I know what the strength of the offense is, and I'm a fan sitting on the recliner week to week. I'm not a coach. And I'm not saying they would win with me. Okay? I'm not saying that. Oh, I'm getting fired up. Let me cook. I'm not done. I'm so sick of this because this was avoidable. I'm not always right. I was right about Kimbrell. I yelled it from my seat last year to keep him off the postseason roster, and they didn't listen. And we all know what happened. And I was right about Sirianni. I knew last season, I said, no, we cannot continue with this guy. This can't happen. And here we are. And we're seeing the same stupid things happen week to week with this guy, with Mr. Cheerleader. You have to have your team prepared week to week. Yeah, the players aren't without fault. There's enough fault to go around when you lose the way they did. But you can't come out week to week like this. Every week, and Sirianni's an offensive guy. Don't think that he's not putting in some of these plays. I know Kellen Moore's not without fault. It's not just him. Doofus is putting in these calls too. He's allowing these plays to happen. Okay? Every week so far this season, 4 games. You know how many points they've scored in the first quarter of any game? 0. 0 points. Again, it's not having your team prepared. It's not putting in the right game plan week to week. Yes, the players have to execute, and I get that. Listen, there was the first play on the wheel route when Saquon Sanders, right? Saquon is down the field and Jalen misses him. That's on Jalen. Okay, the play call was there. That's on Jalen. But still, why are we not running the ball more in that type of game, in that type of weather? Tiring out their defense. Quick hitters. Dallas Goedert. You know, I'll say this. I mean, I know Dotson's been a bust since they got him. I guarantee damn well to you, if he was on Kansas City, they would be figuring out how to use him. Because they're on top of everything. You got to know your personnel. And you got to understand what the team you're going up against. You have 1 game a week. You have how many days to prepare to play this team? You've seen them before. Again, the Eagles have played Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay's like a divisional opponent. They play them every year, and most years in Tampa, by the way. Tampa doesn't usually come here. We usually have to go to Tampa for whatever reason. The schedule makers love us going there. Maybe because the fans go there. I don't know. But you've seen this team. You know what they are. You know what Todd Bowles is going to do. And you don't adjust. You make no adjustments. And then Tampa just gets to be in an easy chair all day yesterday. And the game got a little close, and just when it got a little close, here comes Jalen making a mistake, the fumble. Jalen, you got to look, you're not a rookie, buddy. You got to understand when there's pressure from behind, you got to feel it. You couldn't turn the ball over there, but again, what was that play call? 1st and 10 on the 19. And you're going back in a wind-up throw? You're on the 19-yard line. What are we doing, a Hail Mary? It's 1st and 10. Why aren't you just running the ball there? Or doing a short passing play or something? A wind-up? What? You're on the 19. And to make it more damning, I'm watching this game last night between Baltimore and Buffalo. Buffalo's a pretty good team, right? Coming into that game 3-0. Baltimore was struggling a little bit, 1-2. What did Baltimore do? Right? Their very first play on offense. What did they do? They handed the ball off to Henry, and he busts one all the way for a touchdown. And what did that do? That softened up the defense. Because now the play actions are going to work because they have to be aware of the run. You have a great running back in King Henry, and he already busted one down for a touchdown on you. So what does that do? That opens up the passing lanes. That opens up the passing game. And I know their offense is different than the Eagles, but realistically, that Baltimore offense and this Eagles offense, if you look player for player, and I understand no A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith yesterday, but it's kind of similar, right? You have some tight ends who can make some plays. You have a great running back. You have a very good offensive line. You have a mobile quarterback. Now look, Jackson's a little more mobile than Jalen at this point, right? But it opens things up. If you come out with a run and make a big play right off the bat, the defense, that worries them. Now you have to honor the run. Tampa Bay's defense didn't have to honor the run at all because you weren't doing it enough. Maybe if you ran the ball a little more there in the first quarter and used Saquon Barkley a little more right off the bat, they got to be ready for a run. So those play actions are going to work that much better. Maybe they don't blitz as much because they get burned a few times with some runs by Saquon. Or maybe if you do some quick hitters the way Tampa was doing yesterday with Jalen. Instead, we're just going to drop back. Come on. It's the details. And I know it's hard to be a dynasty, and it's unfair, really, to compare what we have to what they had in New England all those years or in Kansas City, but what made them the way they were? Right? They had all-time great quarterbacks, sure. But they had coaches, they worked on the details. They put in the right game plans week to week, and they weren't afraid to adjust when they had to adjust during games. If something wasn't working, they weren't going to still keep doing it. They would adjust. Kansas City's won 10 straight games going back to last season. I saw the stat yesterday. And they won 10 games. You know how much they've won all 10 of those games by total? 55 points, if I remember that number correct. 55. Now it's 60, a little over 60 now because they won yesterday. It was 9. They had won 9 going into the Charger game, and the total number of points was 55. It's not like they're blowing teams out, but they make adjustments. It's all about the little details with teams like that. That's why they win. We can talk about referees and this and that. Look, that's why they win. Do they have great wide receivers on those teams? Right? Yeah, sure. You have one of the all-time great tight ends and Jason Jason. I got too much Eagles in me, right? Travis Kelce, right? You have a great tight end, one of the all-time greats, right? That makes it look easy. You had Tyreek Hill there for a bit, but what do they have now? You have Rice, who's a nice young receiver. You have Juju Smith-Schuster. It's not like they have these great wide receivers, but they make it work because they have the game plan week to week. The details. That defense, when they beat the Eagles in Super Bowl 57, that was one of the worst defenses in the league. They were young. They made a lot of mistakes. But what did they do? They got coached up. And now they're one of the best defenses in the league. Right? Last year, they led the league in drops. I just said about those receivers. They're good. They're not great. They dropped the ball a lot. But what did they do? They got coached up. And they made plays when they had to make them. In New England, they had an all-time tight end in Gronk, right? You had Randy Moss there for a while, and Edelman. But why were they good? Because you had Tom Brady, but you had the game plan week to week. You were able to make plays that fit. They had the players that fit the schemes. They picked players that fit that scheme, right? They went with Tom Brady's strengths. I know he's the GOAT, right? Did he have the strongest arm in the world? No. But he was really good at these little intermediate passes. He was very accurate. You had the right receivers, these small, fast receivers, like an Edelman, like a Wes Welker, years ago. Like they always got the guys that fit what they wanted to do. And yeah, you get a Randy Moss, anyone would. And Gronk worked out for them. They were real good at drafting, and that's another difference. New England and Kansas City. Do they draft high every year? No. You know what? When you have long playoff runs, either in the Super Bowl or in the conference title game, you're not going to draft very high. But you get the most out of the players that you draft because your scouting's there. You have the right personnel to draft these guys. And more guys than not, the Eagles have not hit on a lot of these draft picks, right? We're looking at the guys right now. Yeah, there's some they do. I like Quinion Mitchell. I think he's going to be a really good player and a really good corner in this league. I think Carter's going to be a good player. Obviously, Smitty is going to be is a terrific wide receiver. Some of the offensive linemen that they have, right, that they drafted, they hit on. But other positions, they still just don't hit. And you see these other teams routinely hit on their guys, and they're not drafting high. But they get players who fit their systems, and they coach them up. Maybe they're not the greatest players as in their rookie years, but they become so because they're getting the coaching, and they're making sure in the offseason that they're doing the conditioning that they need to do to continue to play at a high level in this league. These teams play long. The Patriots, how many years in a row they played deep into the winter? Same thing with Kansas City. Do they look burned out year to year? No. They're ready. They're conditioned. I look at this Eagles team, and they can't seem to stay on the field. And again, it's the details that are missing. Are they the worst team? No. There are teams that are worse than them right now. They're 2-2. They're 500. It could be worse. They could be 1-3. They could be 0-4. They could be 3-1. If Saquon catches a ball, they're 3-1. Or, 3-1. But they could be 0-3, 0-4. They could be 1-3. It could be worse than this, right? So, okay, I'll take 2-2 at this point, and we're going into a bye week, and then we're playing teams that, look, I mean, unless things don't change, we're going to lose to the Browns after the bye week. The Giants might get us. The Jaguars might beat us. Excuse me. Get all choked up. The Jaguars might beat us in some weeks if they continue to play like this and they continue to be coached like this. And that's the overall problem that I'm seeing with this team. Yes, they have players who are making mistakes. Jalen's turning the ball over way too often. He did it last season. He didn't do it in 2022, and that may have been the outlier year. Like I said, that year everything worked. Everything went well. You're not going to always have that, right? You got to deal with adversity. It's the teams that deal with adversity that are able to overcome it and be great teams. You don't think the Niners had injuries? You don't think Kansas City had injuries? Kansas City lost their running back in week 1. And I know they haven't scored a ton this season, but they're still just doing enough because that defense is really strong. And you still have Mahomes making enough plays. They're doing just enough to win. But they're being coached week to week. They're making sure that the game plan is going to fit who they're playing against, their competition week to week. The little details, like, if Kansas City went up against a team who got blown out the week before, maybe they play them a little different. The Eagles went into that game thinking, oh, well, Denver beat them, so, how tough can it be? I mean, the Eagles were in the same situation the week prior in New Orleans. They lost a heartbreaker against Atlanta. They had a chip on their shoulder. So what, you didn't think Tampa would have a chip on their shoulder after getting blown out at home by the Broncos? Again, you got to know these things. These are the details. These are the things that you have to understand going into weeks. And it's like there's just no attention to it. And I know there's enough on the plate week to week with the game plans on offense and defense and special teams. And by the way, special teams, Rodgers, really? Oh, I didn't know that was a rule. How long have you been a special teamer? How long has there been special teams? You're never allowed to push the guy in the back into somebody. You can't do that in any play in the NFL. In football, Pop Warner, you can't do that. So all of a sudden now you're playing an NFL game against Tampa on the road and you think it's okay to give a guy, it wasn't a big shove, but it's enough that it's going to get called. And then he's talking about the fans that, the fans don't make mistakes at their workplace. Well, guess what? We're not the one that signed the $1 million contract to play in front of millions of people every week. Of course, what you do and the mistakes that you make is going to be amplified because people see it. I don't have cameras on me at work. The baker doesn't have cameras on him. The firefighter doesn't have cameras, right? The doctors and nurses don't have cameras on them all the time, right? They're not being viewed by millions of people every week. So when you make a mistake and you have millions of fans of the team that you're playing for, of course we're going to notice it and we're going to be upset. It was a stupid play. Like I said, it goes across the board why they lost the game yesterday. It was the players, it was the coaches, it was the trainers. All across the board. They were ready for the bye week a week early. But again, the game plan. What are they doing week to week? I mean, it's just ridiculous how a team in the NFL can't score a point in the first quarter of any game. And this is an offensive-minded team. I don't understand what the game plan was yesterday. It baffles my mind. You're going against an opponent that you know. You know who you're going up against. You play them well enough to understand what Tampa's going to do defensively. Maybe offensively they made some adjustments. But you had to kind of figure that going in too. Baker was getting sacked a ton the last couple of weeks. Of course they're going to change things up. They're not going to just keep the same like the Eagles keep it the same week to week. Listen, we give them praise when it's time to give them praise. But we're gonna say negative when it's time to say negative. And after that game and that pathetic display in Tampa, of course we're gonna be negative about this game and about the play calling and the coaching and the players. Because it goes hand in hand. When you lose like that, look, no one's safe. Disappointing. Listen, going into the game, I thought was tough enough without the weapons, without A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, without Lane Johnson. This team's record without Lane Johnson is not good over the years. But I thought at least maybe they would be competitive. I didn't think Tampa Bay was 33-16 good. But the Eagles made them that good. Because no adjustments were made during the game. And even at the time when they had a little chance to get within one score, here comes the turnover. And that's on Jalen. That's not coach, but I mean the play call was stupid, but it's on Jalen too. You're a quarterback that's been in the league for how many years now? You gotta feel that pressure. You know it's coming just because the guy gets blocked. What, he can't turn around and come back at you? Particularly a veteran like Levante David. Look, defense gets paid too. They're going to make plays. Give them credit. Tampa made plays yesterday. They were prepared. They made adjustments during the week to what their personnel was on the field. They were ready for the heat. They were ready to make changes because they knew their quarterback was getting sacked on every other play the week before against Denver. And the Eagles, who saw Tampa Bay twice last season, ended their season there, couldn't seem to figure out that Todd Bowles likes to blitz. Let's put a game plan in that allows Todd Bowles' blitzing defense to do what they want to do and not make any changes during the game. And the one time that Saquon busts one, you're not going to use him again. And there's enough blame to go around. I know I talk about Sirianni. Howie Roseman isn't without blame either. Some of his trades over the past few have just been terrible this offseason. Huff, he wears number 0 for good reason. No one knows he's on the field. Oh, he caused a hurry yesterday. He waved at Baker yesterday, and it turned into a first down run. Horrible trade there. You get Dotson, and I don't know if it's Dotson, or I don't know if it's the game plan. They can't seem to figure out what to do with him. But like I said, I guarantee you if he was on Kansas City right now, you would hear him every week. He would be making plays on that team. Because they understand what it is about personnel and how to use the personnel they have. Details. Minnesota's 4-0 with Sam Darnold. All due respect. Sam Darnold. They lost their quarterback preseason. The guy they drafted from Michigan. Sam Darnold. And they're 4-0. Coaching. Yeah, coaches got to coach, players got to play. But you got to put your players in the best case scenario for success. All through sports, not just football. All through sports. And over the last season, and really from that 49er game last season on, I haven't seen it. And I give it praise when it's time to give the praise. I gave the defense praise last week, right after the Saints game. They played. They showed up. But you're damn well right that I'm gonna give them the other side of it when they deserve it. And after yesterday, they deserve it. They deserve the hate. They deserve the frustration. I think frustration is a better word, really, than hate. Because that was frustrating. And I've seen a lot of Eagle losses over the years. I have. I've seen games like that with different coaches, not just Sirianni. But it frustrates me even more when it's Sirianni. Because the man doesn't learn. He doesn't learn to adjust. No, it's the coordinators. It's always the coordinators. How many coordinators have we had here since Sirianni came in? The head man is the one that makes sure that the game plans are in week to week. If there are changes that have to be made, he's got to make sure to make them. Particularly on offense, because that's what he's known for. That's what he came here as, an offensive-minded coach. Defense, okay, I can't expect him to put in great defensive plays. Andy Reid doesn't do it in Kansas City, but you know what? He has a great defensive coordinator who he had when he was here, Spags. And he brought him to Kansas City, and you see the difference it makes. I don't think Vic Fangio is a terrible defensive coordinator, and some of his schemes might work. I don't think they work on this team because they don't have the personnel for it to work on this team, because you don't have the pass rush for it to work on this team. If you're going to play your corners and your safeties back, that means your pass rush, particularly from the edge, has to get there. You have to blitz more. They don't do it. For whatever reason, they don't know how to blitz. And your best blitzing linebacker hasn't seen the field at all this season in Devin White. I don't know why. Could he be much worse than what they have out there? He is their best blitzing linebacker, and he hasn't seen the field. So guess what? You're not getting the pressure from your edge rushers, right? So what's that doing? You're giving all this chunk yards to the receivers. It's wide open the whole game, and they're not changing their defense. They're not adjusting to what the other offense is doing to them. And and when that happens, and you have a quarterback who's cooking, like Baker Mayfield was yesterday, you have 33-16. You have 24-0 to start the game. When your offense is struggling because the play calling is suspect, and the players just aren't getting it done, and your defense, and you don't do anything to adjust after that first drive by Tampa because you don't have the players. So you know what? Even if you're an old school defensive coordinator, you still got to make adjustments. You got to understand who you have and who you don't have on the field, and you got to try to put stuff in that's going to. You got to put the plays in that are going to put your personnel in the best situations to win. And they don't do it. And I can't blame Sirianni for the defensive problems because he's not a defensive-minded guy. Like Andy Reid isn't a defensive-minded guy. In New England, you can't give Bill Belichick a lot of fault if they were having trouble offensively because he's not an offensive-minded coach. But he had a good offensive coordinator, and he had the GOAT. Right? Just like Reid has a great quarterback in Patrick Mahomes. Right? But when the defense is struggling, there's only so much he can do. He has to rely on his other coaches that coach defense to fix the problems, and they have. Because he has good defensive coordinators there who stay there, who don't go elsewhere, right? Spags is going to be right that the rest of his career will probably be with the Chiefs. The Eagles have still tried to find that right piece. And maybe they had it some years ago when Gannon was here, right? They led the league in sacks that season. Now, because he was young and because they had a lot of success, he got a head coach job with the Cardinals. More power to him. They did nothing to replace him. It was a train wreck last season with Desai and the Pencil Man, and now this season with Vic Fangio, it's been mixed results. But a lot of it hasn't been, I would say, great because again, you're running this defense where you're trying to prevent the big play. But you're giving up all these little plays. And I get it. It's dink and dunk. It's the old standard. I mean, look, they had that years ago when they had Jim Johnson, right? Similar, right? Now, they had a little better personnel in those defenses. They had some all-timers on those defenses. But they allowed teams to go down the field, but they didn't give up a lot of touchdowns. And there were times this season where this team was doing that. Obviously, it didn't happen yesterday. And they did nothing to prevent it from continuing to happen. So Tampa Bay's like, all right, well, we're just going to do the same thing. It's beat you to this point. Why not just continue it? If it ain't broke, no need to fix it. The Eagles didn't give them a chance to break it. And on the other side, the Eagles weren't adjusting to what Todd Bowles does, blitz. And you know that's what he does. Disappointing. Frustrating. There's really no other way to put that game. The lack of details going into that game, the lack of urgency, the lack of adjustments, the lack of running on offense, the lack of adjusting on defense, and maybe they don't have the personnel to adjust with. And again, that goes to the front office. That goes to the players that they drafted or brought in as free agents or traded for. If it doesn't work, I mean, look, coaches get blamed, players get blamed, but sometimes you just have an island of misfit toys. It just isn't going to work no matter what. And that might be what we have on defense this season. I think they have some good players. I mean, I like Bond as a linebacker. I think he's been pretty solid for the most part this season. I like Quinion Mitchell. BG, God bless him, he's still playing. He got a sack. Hey, BG was the first edge rusher to get a sack since Hassan Reddick last season, and then Sweat got a sack later in the game. We got 2 sacks from our edge rushers. Oh my, it can happen. But it just wasn't enough. I thought it was a tough spot. What I say before the game, sometimes in the season it's about spot in a game. It was a tough spot. You're playing without some weapons. You're playing without Lane Johnson. You're playing against a team who was embarrassed a week prior in their home stadium. And you knew that they were going to come in with a little more urgency this week, Tampa. They were a playoff team last season, right? They beat us in the wild card. Tough luck loss in Detroit. They're a pretty good team, and they're well coached. Are they the greatest team in the league? No. Are they going to win a Super Bowl this season? Probably not. But can they be another playoff year? Yeah, they could. It's a good team. I wouldn't say they're a great team. I think they have their faults and flaws. But I think they're a good team. They're a solid team that you got to prepare for. You got to be ready for. More so than the Eagles were. That just basically just walked onto the field and figured, we beat the Saints last week. Here we go. Every week is a different opponent. You can't play the Bucs the same way you played the Saints. Frustrating. It's disappointing. Did I expect them? Look, I knew it would be a tough game. It's always tough when we play Tampa. The schedule makers love to put Tampa on the schedule. We always struggle against Tampa for whatever reason, in Tampa particularly. It's always a tough game. It's like when the Eagles play in Seattle. It's always tough. They rarely win there, including last season. They let that one get away from them, right? It's part of the terrible end of the season. But there were ways of coming into that game and playing better and designing schemes that would have been better against that team than what they showed. And again, the players aren't without fault. How many tackles they missed? I mean, you got to be kidding. It started early in the game. I believe it was Tampa's first possession, the first possession of the game. You had Avonte Maddox, had a chance to tackle Godwin for a loss, and he whiffs. And Godwin goes for like 30-some yards on the first drive. This is when you knew it was probably going to be a long day. How many tackles they missed? I think that Kobe Dean missed 2 tackles on one play. It was bad. It was the worst tackling game for them in the season, and it's coming off a great performance against the Saints. And it looked like they never learned how to tackle. It was bad, and I know the weather was tough. You got to overcome stuff like that. I mean, I saw the Eagles win a snow game years ago against Detroit. I mean, one of the great games, right? Shady McCoy running for over 200 yards, and how fun that game was, right? Weather's going to be a factor in games. You're playing outdoors for the most part, unless you're playing in a dome. You're going to have to deal with weather. If it's heat, if it's rain, if it's snow, you have to overcome those type of things. Ice. The Chiefs won a game in -3 last year against Miami in the playoffs. I hate to keep comparing it to Kansas City. They're just on their own little pedestal. But, I mean, you have to overcome things like this. Tampa did. I know it's their home stadium. Maybe they're a little more equipped for that kind of weather. But, I mean, it's like they weren't even prepared. How many guys were just dropping out of the game to go get IVs? It's like, you just, and again, that goes to the off-season conditioning as well. You got to be ready for anything in the football season. Again, it's the details. And I hate harping on Sirianni. I do. I know it's like a broken record, but and unless it changes, unless it gets better, I'm still looking at the same issues. The definition of insanity, right? You're doing the same thing and hoping for a different result. I'm not seeing a different result. This team has too much talent to screw up this season. And I know they didn't have Brown and Smitty and Lane Johnson. But most weeks, when you have those guys, this is way too talented a team to screw up. To blow a talent like this. How do you have a team that has Saquon Barkley and A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith, and I'll even throw Dallas Goedert into the mix, and I'll throw Jalen Hurts in the mix, and that offensive line? How do you have a team with that kind of offense that has 0 points in the first quarter of any game this season? How does that happen? Partly it's the players, but it's the play calling, it's the coaching. It's scripted plays week to week, and it's not working. You have all this talent, but you don't use it right. Again, I mean, I don't want to keep... They compared Barkley to Sanders, and part of the reason was because, okay, you run him, if he loses a yard or has a 2-yard run, on the next play he could break one. He could be gone for a touchdown. That's the type of back he is. Got to use him. Don't save him. What are we saving him for? He's your best weapon yesterday, and you didn't want to use him the way they should have. I know it was hot. But he's your best weapon. You won a game in week 3 there by running the ball. Is it sexy? Is it great looking offense? No. But if it wins, or it gives you more of a chance to win or keep the game competitive and close and keep their defense on the field so maybe they tire out in the heat, instead of making it easy for them the whole game, basically. Again, that comes with details. That comes with understanding your personnel week to week. That comes with putting in the right game plan. Or if you're not putting it in yourself, you're making sure that when you see the game plan by Kellen Moore, you're saying, hey, Kellen, I understand these first 15 plays, there's a lot of throws against a good blitzing defense. I'm not telling you how to coach, but maybe if we do something here or there, right? It's just like, high school, That's what I'm saying. And every the conferences after that. I will take Belichick here with his "we're off to the Giants" instead of Sirianni week to week, going on these long tirade stories about the past. No one hopes I'm wrong more than me. I want this team to succeed. I want to win. Okay, I'm not satisfied with one Super Bowl. I'm so thankful for it. But I'm not satisfied with one. Same with the Phillies. I love the fact that I saw them win in 2008. I was at that parade. I have a wonderful memory with my mom at that parade on Halloween, my favorite holiday. Wonderful memory that I'll always cherish. I want more. I want this Phillies team to win. God, I want them to win. Hopefully they do it this season. I'd love to see a Stanley Cup. God knows I'd love to see the Sixers win for all the crap I've been through with them. All these second-round exits. Near misses. Kawhi Leonard shots. Quadruple bounce shots. Okay? I'd love to see them win. But I won't be satisfied with one. Right? If the Flyers win a cup, I'll be thrilled. Be my first cup with this franchise, seeing the Flyers win. Right? Seeing Mishkov hold up the cup. Oh, with him with the game winner the other night. Tell you. It's coming. We've been lying in dormant for too long. It's coming. It's coming, baby. But I'm not satisfied with just one. Same thing with the Sixers. If they finally, for God please, let me see them win one of these years. I want them to see. I want to see them win again. Right? Same thing with the Eagles. Yeah, we got one. I'm happy, and it brings me great joy to tell Dallas fans that we have one in much more recent time than you. Even the Niner fans, we can say that too, right? You know? But, and they throw, well, we got 5, we got 6, whatever the heck, whatever they'll say, right? Whatever. It's been since before the internet. But I'm not settling with one. As great as that was, it was against the Patriots, it was the Philly, it was the Graham strip sack, everything, right? Beautiful. Great parade. Perfect. Everything that I always imagined. I'm not satisfied with one. I'm not. And this team is too talented to throw it away with this coaching. It just is. It just is. And I know that they don't have all the pieces. I get the defense is a little, right? We got to worry. But offensively, they should be doing much better than they are now. And that goes across the board. It's not just coaching, it's the players too. Because the players got to make the plays, and they're not. And Jalen's got way too many turnovers for a guy that's been in the league for as long as he's been. And people complain about the money he makes. Listen, quarterbacks get paid. I hate to break this to people. Quarterbacks in this league get paid. And that came off him at least going to a Super Bowl. There are quarterbacks who got paid haven't even gotten there. How much are they paying Lawrence in Jacksonville? And he's regressed. Right? Kyler Murray got paid. He hasn't sniffed an NFC title game. Okay? Watson got paid. What's he done? You think they're happy with that contract in Cleveland? You have Goff got paid this offseason, and he hasn't had a great season so far. But quarterbacks get paid. Tom Brady took pay cuts. Not everyone's Tom Brady. Tom Brady could do it, okay, because he's pretty well taken care of. But he did it so that they can help other players get paid on the team, and they can continue to win. But not everyone's Tom Brady. Not everyone has that mentality to them, that maniacal mentality that he had about winning and about what he would do whatever it took to win, right? Even if it meant he got paid a little less, he was okay with it. He's doing okay. I don't think that hurt him at all. With the endorsements he makes and everything else, and now what he's getting. It's like he made up for it now, getting paid by Fox. He's doing okay. No one's shedding a tear for Tom. But quarterbacks get paid. Jalen Hurts got paid based on, look, he went to a Super Bowl. He was a player or two away from winning a Super Bowl against Mahomes. He got paid, okay. I'm not hating on him for getting paid, but I'm hating on him for making mistakes. Too many turnovers. You can't turn the ball over like that and hope to win week to week. And it continues to happen. Now look, there's just some quarterbacks that are just turnover prone. That's just what it is. But he's got to do a better job at holding on to that football, at protecting the football, not giving it to the other team, particularly when you're down in a game and you finally have some momentum going in your favor, and here comes the fumble. And I was just thinking, I told Slim this yesterday, I was just thinking in my mind, well, we're in the third quarter. Jalen hasn't turned over the ball. All right, well, maybe that's one good thing coming out today. And there it is. Yeah. I'm still a fan of Jalen. I still hope he has success. I think he's a good guy. I need to see more from him. I need to see him not turn the ball over at the rate that he's turning the ball over. Particularly when you have these weapons. You can't do that. He needs to play better. And he can say week to week, oh yeah, it's keeping the real thing, and whatever, I got to do better. Okay, you can say that, Jalen, but then you got to do it. I'm not trying to hate on him, but he's got to be better. And I'm not one of those to say, oh, let's get rid of him, bring another quarterback in. That's the last thing I want for this franchise is to play quarterback roulette. You don't win that way. You just don't. Look at other teams that do it. How much success do they have? No, let's pick this guy. Oh, no, this is not working. Let's pick this guy. No. We'll go after the... No. Has it worked for the Bears? Have they rolled in rings since they were doing it? Has it really? Some of these other franchises, how much success are they having? And I get it. Yeah, you throw so many darts at the board, eventually you're going to hit on the right one. This isn't the process with the Sixers. Okay, we've been through that. We know. So let's not try to do that with the Eagles with the quarterback position. Does Jalen have to play better? Absolutely. Do the coaches have to do better? Absolutely. But you know what? Maybe you just got to get Jalen to the point where he is playing better. And that comes with coaching. Josh Allen isn't the turnover machine that he was. Coaching. And yes, it's the player too. Jackson was another one of those quarterbacks that got paid. Has he been to a Super Bowl? He got paid. Josh Allen got paid. Has he been to a Super Bowl? He got paid. Again, quarterbacks get paid in this league. It doesn't matter if you're Jalen Hurts, Murray, Lawrence, Herbert, whether you've been to a Super Bowl, whether you've been to championship games, Prescott got paid. How many playoff games has he won? He wins a lot in the regular season, and he gets to the playoffs and things are a little different. But they paid him. You know why? Because he's a quarterback. And every team wants that franchise quarterback. Particularly if you're a younger quarterback. They're going to get paid. That's just what it is. It comes with the position. And it's not going to stop at Jalen Hurts with the Eagles. Whoever the next quarterback is, hopefully many years from now, they'll get paid too. And the market keeps going up because the teams keep paying more and more for the quarterback, whether they win Super Bowls or not. Because everyone wants that franchise quarterback. Every team in the league wants that. And some teams think they have it before they do. And maybe some teams have it, not exactly just yet, but then it becomes that, right? But it's just, it goes with the position. Do I think it's right? I'm not going to hate on someone for making money. It's not me. I'm not giving the money. Maybe I am with the merchandise, with the jerseys and whatnot, right? But I'm not the one signing those checks. That's the team doing it. And the Eagles are doing what every other team in the league does. No different. We're not complaining when they give the checks to A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith, when they kept them here. Players get paid. That's what this league is about. We're upset because the Eagles didn't pay Hassan Reddick. And they should have. That was a mistake. But paid or not, Jalen's got to be better. He's got to be better. He's got to limit the turnovers. Is it going to happen? I don't know. I'd be lying if I said, oh yeah, it's going to be better. But it also falls on the coaching staff to understand that you have a quarterback that's turnover prone. Maybe some of these plays shouldn't be called. What's it that Brandon Book says? Ah-da-da. I don't know. Know your personnel. Put your players on the field in the best possible positions to have success in games. And more times than not, I do not see that out of this coaching staff. And the head of the coaching staff is the head coach, Sirianni. And like I said 1,000,000 times, and I'll say it 1,000,000 more, I hope I'm wrong. I hope that they have success this season. I hope that despite him, they go to the Super Bowl and they win a Super Bowl, or at least contend in the playoffs. But as long as he's here, I can't unsee how that ended last season. I can't unsee that. I know every year's different, but I'm seeing some of the similar things in the first 4 games this season that I saw since that San Francisco debacle last year. And I can't say anything different because they haven't shown me anything different. Because he hasn't shown me, as a fan, anything different than how that season ended last season. Again, we give them flowers when there were flowers to be given, when they go to the Super Bowl and they had success. But when they're not having success, we're going to be frustrated. That's what fans do. And I'm not saying that we're right all the time. But sometimes we are. We were right about Kimbrel in the playoffs last year, and we may have been right, just may have been right, about letting Sirianni go after last season, when he lost the team. And you still have plenty of players left from that team this season. And you have players going out and doing what they're doing on social media. Again, that's not being policed better. Social media is going to happen. Players are going to do it. They do it on all different teams, not just the Eagles. But you had a player in white retweeting for a positive play by Tampa yesterday after the strip sack by David. And why does he do that? Because of the environment that this team is. It allows for this stuff to happen. You can't have that. You got to get control of this. You got to get control of it as soon as possible. And it's the same stuff you saw last season. The players mouthing off. The players on social media doing stuff, right? And now it's happening again. And I'm not saying it can be stopped. You're not going to take the players' phones away or their laptops away. You're not going to do that, right? But you got to control it a little better. You got to rein it in. As all the other Eagle fans, it was very disappointing yesterday. I thought it was a tough spot. I would not have been surprised if they lost, if it was a closer game, if it was a battle. But I saw no fight. I didn't see a battle. I saw a team that was ready for their bye week, that was ready to use the players that weren't on the field as an excuse to lose that game, to use the weather as an excuse to lose that game. Oh, by the way, the team that whipped your ass in the playoffs last season in the wild card game ended your season. That's okay. It's not having it in here. And it's not having it in here. And that's what scares me. That's what continues to scare me about this, as long as Sirianni is the head man of this team. And he's not alone in the blame department. I know we give a lot of flowers to Howie. It's Howie's season. Howie's made some mistakes too in the personnel department of this team and how this team has been built defensively. It's not without thought about the mistakes that Howie made in this offseason. And the players aren't without blame either. They're the ones out in the field that are screwing up. But again, it's the coaching staff not putting them in a better position week to week, knowing who you have and who you don't have, and what the weather conditions are, and everything across the board. It all goes hand in hand, week to week in a game plan. And you have to be better prepared. And I don't see this team better prepared. And they're veterans on this team. And I don't see this team better prepared week to week. I see the other teams better prepared. I had a lot to get off my chest in this one, okay? It's week 4. I don't want to feel like this in week 4. I really don't. It's like almost the whole encompassing of a whole season of frustration. But I'm seeing what I'm seeing in that game yesterday is what I saw last season, and that's what worries me. That's what worried me about keeping Nick Sirianni here after last season. That's what worries me about going forward into this season. Adversity. Can this team overcome it? I don't know. I think getting the players back that they get back after the bye week is going to help. But again, the coach has got to put the better game plan in week to week to have success. And if they don't do it, and the players aren't going to do it in the field, then what are we going to have? A losing season. With this type of talent on the offense. A losing season. And yeah, Sirianni will be gone after the season. It was a season too late at that point. You threw away a season. I hope it doesn't happen like that. I hope this isn't a losing year. I hope that this is a year that finds us, at the beginning of next season, we're having some success, we're rolling, we're in the playoffs, we're having some success, maybe have a home game, playing for an NFC title against whoever, I would love that. I would love to say, okay, you know what? September 30th, I was all upset after that Tampa game. You know what? But there was emotions, and I'm glad I was wrong about this team and Sirianni. And yeah, they're having success now. And all right, I'll be ready. I'll be ready for it, right? But I can only speak from week to week and how I feel week to week. And right now, after that game, there's no other way to say it, but it's just frustration, and it could have been avoided. This game, the way it went down, could have been avoided, and it wasn't because of the details weren't there for it to be avoided. And that's what worries me going forward. As a fan, I want them to win every week. I want to have success. I can't control what they do or don't do on the field. I can only control where I sit and watch the game. That's all I can do, and then make these videos on YouTube. That's all I can do as a fan. I can wear the gear. I can cheer or boo week to week. That's all I can do. But when I'm seeing the same kind of problems that I saw just about half that season last year, and even the games they were winning, it was like, well, but it was close. It could have been a play here or there, And then it all went to hell after that Niner game. They got bullied in that Niner game and they never recovered from it. And here we go again this season. And it's just, I'm just seeing more of the same, even though you have some different personnel, even though you have 2 new coordinators, I'm still seeing the same issues. And why I might feel that I'm seeing the same issues, because who's the coach? Who's the head coach? Again, the players got to play. They're not without blame from yesterday. When this team loses, it's not just on the coaches, it's on the players too. But if it just gets repetitive, week after week, and the same issues come up, the penalties, can you get control of these penalties? It's maddening. Anyhow, I went on here for over an hour. It's frustration. We're 2-2 again. It could be worse. We're 500, right? Washington's 3-1. Now everyone's picking them to win the division. It's a long way to go. We'll see, right? But the Eagles have some work to do. They have some work to do in this off week. The bye week came at a good time. Some guys need to get healed up and ready for the rest of the season, right? Coaches got to do a better job. Players got to do a better job. Trainers got to do a better job. Front office has to do a better job. Everyone has to do a better job. But the mistakes that were made have got to be corrected. And if you allow the mistakes to continue, guess what? You're going to lose games like this. I mean, yeah, you're playing the Clevelands and you're playing the Giants and whatever coming off the bye. You got enough really good teams coming up after, in that rest of the season that you're going to have to deal with stuff like this. And if you're not careful, it's just going to snowball like it did last season, and we don't want to see that again. Make the corrections. You had 2 weeks to make corrections. I want to see corrections made going into that game in a couple weeks against Cleveland. Anyhow, thank you all for watching. What do you always got to do? You got to leave those likes. Like as much as you can, right? Make sure to subscribe, because I'll say it. I've said a bunch of times. I'll keep saying it till the end of the year. I'm trying to get the 2K subs by December 31st, 2024. And you all can help make that happen by hitting that subscribe button and then hit the bell icon so you're notified to all future content. I know I got stuff in the life coming up. We got some jerseys, we got hats, whatever, right? That's going to be coming up. We got more Season of the Fan, of course, for the Eagles. This season, look, it's only 4 weeks in. So we got lots of time left. The Captain Jay is just trying to call me, so I'll call him back after this vid. But you all take care. Thanks for watching. I had to vent. That was a very ventable game. So I sat there. I didn't make this vid after the game. If you thought this was bad, imagine after that game what it would have been, all right? So we waited 24 hours to make the vid, but we made it, and we had things to vent about because the team gave me no choice. No choice but to do it. Tough love. That's what it is as a fan sometimes, right? It's like being a parent. which I'm not a parent. I feel like I am with these teams. But you all take care. Thanks for watching, and let's go Birds. I'm glad there's a bye week now. We got Red October coming up next weekend with the Phillies, right? So we got that just to be the main focus for a week, and then we'll see what happens, in a couple weeks at home against Cleveland. Hopefully they can get back in the winning ways. Hopefully the mistakes that were made they can correct. We're going to have to see. They got work to do. They do. I'm glad they got some guys coming back, but they still got work to do. And they can't use that as just, oh, well, we got guys coming back. We're fine. No, you still got work to do, and I expect them to do it. And hopefully they do. All right, everyone, take care, and I'll see you in the next vid.